Pito's not able to see Gon's movements at all. He vanishes out of the room and Pito has no idea what happened. Hey, what's up everybody? It's LeeLos, and today we're talking about the strongest Nen user in Hunter x Hunter. Stay steady in pursuit of your dreams and goals. You're born to win, you're made for greatness, and I definitely believe in you guys. Keep up the great work each and every day. So let's get started with talking about the strongest Nen user. In general, in Hunter x Hunter, there's many different elements that go into determining who's more likely to win a Nen battle in Hunter x Hunter. In many cases, who wins a Nen battle isn't just determined by the amount of aura a character has. Factors like battle experience and whether or not someone knows their opponent's ability gives an advantage in a fight. However, there are exceptions to this rule. Hisoka's a good example of an exception. He actually enjoys giving people all of these advantages, letting them know what his ability is, letting them set up plans, and then just beating them anyway. That's more meant to show how strong Hisoka is overall. He's so powerful that even when he gives his opponents all of the advantages possible, he can beat them anyway. Hisoka is more of a mild example of being an exception to the rules of Nen combat, where he can overpower people even when he gives them advantages. There are far greater examples in the story of Hunter x Hunter, to where the opponent's stats are so ridiculous that really no amount of planning, prep time, or battle experience really makes a difference anymore. And a great example of that is characters like Meruem and Adult Gon. So to start the video off, let's talk about the strongest human that we see perform feats in the Hunter x Hunter anime. That would be Adult Gon. Adult Gon is so powerful that it's genuinely ridiculous. One of his craziest feats is that he punches a hole through post-mortem Nen Pito's chest without using a Hatsu ability. This is ridiculous because Pito was already implied to be the strongest of the Royal Guard. Pito was the oldest, had the longest amount of time developing their Hatsu abilities, and was even getting stronger during the Chimera Ant arc, where it stated that as Pito was using Terpsichore was improving. And in the same arc, we see Pito use Terpsichore to dance beyond their limits. Pito is an absolute monster, then gets a post-mortem Nen amp on top of that, and then Gon still proceeds to punch a hole through post-mortem Nen Pito's chest without using Hatsu. One of the craziest feats in all of Hunter x Hunter. What's really insane is that with rock, Gon would then become magnitude stronger than this. Just a normal rock from Gon in his kid form was stated to make him around 10 to dozens of times more powerful. Let alone in his adult transformation, the multiplier might be even larger than that, making him 10 to dozens of times stronger than what's required to one punch post-mortem Nen Pito. His power starts getting really ridiculous. Now, I've made other videos on Adult Gon in the past, but I'm not sure if I've ever really gone in detail on the Highball interpretation of Adult Gon's power, so now I'll explain the Highball interpretation of Adult Gon's power. The Highball interpretation starts to become very crazy. So when Pito sees Kid Gon, Pito thinks that Gon's fangs might pierce the king's throat. That's not something that would damage Meruem, that's something that would kill Meruem. Essentially, Pito fears that something about Gon could lead him to killing the king. Narratively, this is meant to show that Pito's fearing the adult Gon transformation. Then, while Gon is transforming into his adult form, Pito thinks, I was right, his fangs might pierce the king. This is a callback to Pito thinking that Gon could pierce the king's throat or kill Meruem. So essentially, the Highball interpretation is this. Adult Gon, while he's still transforming, not even in full power, is so powerful that he's already stronger than Meruem. Not using Hatsu abilities, already stronger before he's even fully transformed. Then when using Hatsu, he would become 10 to dozens of times stronger than that bare minimum. Adult Gon's speed is insane as well. There's a real argument that he might be faster than even Netero. Pito is able to see Netero's prayer motion, which is stated to be the one move faster than Meruem. Despite this, when Pito's standing in front of Gon, using Terpsichore to go beyond their limits, Pito's not able to see Gon's movements at all. He vanishes out of the room and Pito has no idea what happened. Seeing how Pito could follow Netero's movements but could not follow Adult Gon's movements, and honestly, he might not have even been fully transformed, there's an argument that Adult Gon might even be faster than Netero. So the Highball interpretation of Adult Gon is that he's stronger than Meruem and faster than Netero. Then he can use his Hatsu to become magnitude stronger than this, and some fans believe that this is just just actually what adult Gon is. You could make an argument that like this adult Gon could then become even stronger with a rage amp, because we see Kid Gon's always getting stronger from rage amps, but like, I mean, to be honest, adult Gon is already angry, so at that point I think that's going a bit too far with the highball, you know, but I think he already is rage amped anyway. Yeah, adult Gon, his scaling is just really crazy, and if you're highballing him, stronger than Meruem and faster than Netero, that's a ridiculous combination of power. Like if like if you really highball adult Gon, imagine him fighting Netero and like he just faster than the Buddha hands and one punches him. Like, he's insane. In terms of feats that we've seen from human characters, adult Gon has the highest possible scaling from the feats that we've seen in the series. Something on top of all of this is this version of adult Gon is not the strongest that Gon can get. A true full potential adult Gon can scale considerably higher than this. Killua states this is what Gon would be after decades of training, but there's a few things that a true adult Gon would have that would make him even stronger than this. That's because the Dark Continent has longevity rice, which is an ingredient that allows characters to live to be 300 years old. Imagine this version of adult Gon that we see, who's this ridiculously powerful character. Imagine taking this character, putting him in the Dark Continent, and letting him train for 200 years. That would be a true full potential Gon. And with a conditional Nen ability that's magnitude stronger than his rock ability and hundreds of years of battle experience, he would become a character so strong. At that point, you wouldn't even want him in Hunter x Hunter anymore. He would just kind of be too powerful for this verse. All that being said, in theory, the strongest human character in Hunter x Hunter would just be a full potential Gon. This is kind of implied throughout the series. He's stated to have bottomless potential a couple different times in the series. Now, based on characters that we see in the anime, the strongest would be post-Rose Meruem, who is Meruem with a majority of the aura from Poof and Youpi added to him. He's kind of like a Hunter x Hunter version of Perfect Cell. Like if you think about Cell from Dragon Ball Z, how he reaches his perfect form from absorbing Android 17 and 18, post-Rose Meruem becomes post-Rose Meruem by absorbing the energy of Poof and Youpi. It's kind of a similar thing there. Meruem, who was already relative to adult Gon, then gets a majority of Poof and Youpi's aura added to himself. And honestly, we don't even know if it was actually just addition. It could have been a bigger amplifier than adding their aura to his own, and he gains a stronger version of their Hatsu abilities on top of that. He has light speed N, and he can combine Poof's scales into the N as well. We didn't really get to see the maximum usage of this ability. In theory, he might be able to hypnotize people at the speed of light. He might actually be able to do that to people. Like if he's fighting someone, he could just use his N at light speed and maybe hypnotize them as soon as the fight starts. We didn't really get to see him use it that way, but in theory it might be possible. And in theory, Meruem should be able to make clones of himself as well while he's fighting people. Invincible Meruem clones, like, yeah, no, he's a crazy character. Post-Rose Meruem's insane, and technically, to be completely honest, Meruem is a character who would have even more potential than Gon, because anytime he eats a Nen user, he gets stronger from that. In some cases, it seems he just gets their Hatsu ability as well. So imagine someone like Meruem going to the Dark Continent, eating all of the Dark Continent beasts, and having like hundreds of crazy Hatsu abilities. A full potential Meruem would, in theory, be the strongest character. I'd say Gon would be the strongest human, but a full potential Meruem would be the strongest character. But based on what we actually see in the anime, Post-Rose Meruem is implied to be the strongest character in the anime itself. Now, it goes even further beyond this. Let's talk about the strongest character in the manga. In the manga, the character who's likely to be the strongest in the manga would be Don Freaksis. It's implied that Don Freaksis has been living in the Dark Continent for hundreds of years, and he navigated one half of the Dark Continent already. And the Dark Continent is full of characters that are even more dangerous than Meruem, yet Don Freaksis has been able to live there for hundreds of years. So in theory, the strongest character in Hunter x Hunter is likely Don Freaksis. Someone who's so strong he can live in this extremely dangerous area for this long of a time. He might be so powerful that he can low diff Meruem tier opponents, but there is an argument that maybe Don Freaksis isn't even like fighting enemies, like he's just kind of hiding for hundreds of years, just like hiding around. Then if that's the case, then he wouldn't be that powerful. But my opinion on it is that seems very difficult to do. Like being a character who can live in the Dark Continent for hundreds of years without being powerful, it seems more likely that he would just be the strongest character in the manga. But there's other arguments around that too. There could still be be characters in the Dark Continent that are stronger than Don Freaks that he does like actively avoid. So that's a possibility as well. So if that's the case, then the strongest character in Hunter x Hunter would be some unknown beasts in the Dark Continent. You can make an argument that the strongest characters that we ever visibly see in Hunter x Hunter could just be some of these Dark Continent beasts here that were on this undocumented trip that Netero went on to the Dark Continent. It's just some of these unnamed, unranked, crazy monsters could be the strongest character in the Hunter x Hunter manga that we've ever actually visibly seen, because we haven't gotten to actually see Don Freaks, we've only heard about him. So based on characters we actually visibly see, these unranked monsters in the Dark Continent, one of these guys here might quote unquote technically be the actual strongest character we ever see in the Hunter x Hunter manga. And if we're talking about hacks abilities, then technically Nanika is the strongest. From what we've seen, Nanika has the strongest hacks. Also, I didn't mention Jing earlier. There are some arguments that even though Gon has better feats than anything Jing's performed, maybe Jing has like some crazy hacks ability that would allow him to beat adult Gon. That scaling comes from like his confidence in handling the Dark Continent despite knowing how dangerous the monsters are. He has confidence that he can like go to this area anyway. So there are some arguments that maybe Jing could do something if he's fighting against adult Gon, even if adult Gon has better stats. That's much more of a debatable thing. I just wanted to mention that really quick in case anyone was wondering like, why didn't you mention Jing? And I guess on that note, I didn't mention Prime Netero either, a full potential adult Gon. It's just overall his portrayal, it's just far beyond a Netero who's like 2 times stronger than the one we see in the story. I mean, really, that's like all Prime Netero in theory is. He's just like twice as strong as the Netero that fought Meruem, and like a full potential adult Gon is just going way he's going way beyond that tier of power. So that's why I didn't mention Prime Netero earlier. There's a level you can go even further than everything I've said in the video already. There's an argument for Nen users that are even stronger than everything I've mentioned so far from a manga that Togashi made before Hunter x Hunter, YuYu Hakusho. There's an argument that potentially the main cast of YuYu Hakusho might actually have Nen. This argument comes from one of the villains that Yusuke fights in YuYu Hakusho. There's an enemy in YuYu Hakusho that actually uses Nen. They're stated to be a Nen user. Yusuke, the main character of YuYu Hakusho, is able to see his Hatsu ability. Now, we know that in Hunter x Hunter, you can only see Nen if you yourself are a Nen user. There are some exceptions. I mean, there are some characters in Hunter x Hunter that are just born with the ability to see aura. In this series of YuYu Hakusho, a character is using a Nen ability and Yusuke is actually able to see it, meanwhile normal humans are not. It should also be noted that the power system of YuYu Hakusho has a lot of similarities to the power system of Hunter x Hunter. They use aura in their attacks. So all this being said, there's a possibility that Yusuke himself is actually a Nen user. And if that's the case, then Yusuke would be the strongest he would be the strongest Nen user like in history. The scaling in YuYu Hakusho goes way beyond the power scaling in Hunter x Hunter. There's like crazy stuff. One of the enemies that Yusuke fights, he has statements implying that he could destroy the world just by powering up, not even using his full strength, just powering up, he could destroy the planet. Then Yusuke goes on to become considerably stronger than this guy. Yusuke in YuYu Hakusho by the end of the story is like a planetary character. There's actually crazier arguments than that too. If you want to highball Yusuke from YuYu Hakusho, there's a statement where they say the spirit orb that he absorbs has the energy equivalent to a small star. So like you could argue that like in the Dark Tournament, Yusuke's like a star level guy in terms of attack potency, and then becomes like way stronger than that as the story goes on. There's all kinds of like really wild scaling arguments for Yusuke. There's like some universal arguments for YuYu Hakusho. I don't actually like believe those ones, but like I think the universal arguments are more like a highball, a very, very highball for Yusuke. I even think the star level arguments are a highball, but I do think the planetary ones are actually pretty safe for Yusuke. There's like some universal argument for Yusuke if you say like when they're talking about destroy the world, they're actually talking about destroying an entire realm, like a whole universe. I don't actually believe that argument. I think that one's more of just like a highball interpretation. There's also some other really crazy stuff. They say that in YuYu Hakusho, the demon realm is like an infinite dimension and the dragon of the darkness flame is pulled from like the depths of it. So like in theory, maybe the dragon of the darkness flame is traveling infinite dimensions in like an instant. Again, I think that's also a highball. Like I think it would make more sense that they just make a portal directly from where the darkness flame is directly to Hiei. That would make more sense rather than the darkness flame traveling infinite dimensions in an instant. Like YuYu Hakusho scaling is really, really cool. I like the manga a lot, and the series in general, I think it's really good. In theory, like, if Yusuke's a Nen user, the strongest Nen user would be Yusuke. He just looks exactly like Jing as well. But yeah, that's everything I wanted to say. Thank you guys for watching. That covers the strongest Nen user in the anime, the strongest Nen user in the manga, the strongest characters. So yeah, that's everything I wanted to say. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate the views and the comments. Like and subscribe, and I'll see ya on the next one.